My favorite character in Lord of the Rings is actually mentioned in the story like once, and it's in the appendices during the discussion of the unions of elves and men in Middle Earth history. Because we have Beren and Luthien, we have Aragorn and Arwen in the story of Lord of the Rings, but I'm talking about Tuor, and he's the one who actually marries Idril Celebrimbor, the daughter of King Turgon, the very same king who wielded Glamdring the sword, as well as was the king of the hidden realm of Gondolin, the Goblin Wars you hear about in The Hobbit. And Tuor is such an interesting character because he has been prophesized his coming for quite some time. First by Olmo, the Vala or power of Middle Earth, the Vala of water, who actually tells Turgon before he even makes Gondolin in his first realm, Vinyamar near Nevrast, where he's like, "You need to leave some gear behind." And Turgon's like, "Why?" He's like, "Trust me, some guy's gonna show up. He's gonna do great stuff. He's gonna be the savior of your people." And Turgon's like, "All right, like I don't question Avala, who would?" And what ends up happening is that we fast forward hundreds of years later. And it's during the Near Ninth Arnordiad, the Battle of Unnumbered Tears, like the second to last large scale battle of the first stage, where we see the deeds of Húrin, for example, but also Húrin's brother, Huor, falls in battle. But before he does, he is guarding the rear guard of Turgon, who has shown up out of Gondolin, and him and the men of Dorlomin and his brother Húrin are there. And he goes to Turgon, who, when telling him to escape, he's like, "Hey, there's some kind of foresight here." Where he's like, "Hey, the savior of our people, a star will be born of our house." And he's fairly referring to Tuor and his line. Because Tuor, a lot of people don't know this, is the father of Eärendil the Blessed, like, the vial of Galadriel, which has the light of the star known as Eärendil. He's also the father of Elrond Half-Elven, who we very much know in the story of Lord of the Rings. But Tuor is a different character because Tuor is like, very much the opposite of his cousin, Turin Turambar. He is raised as a fosterling with the Mithrim elves under Anael, his name is. Because his mother, while wandering in the wilderness, after hearing what you know with Hur passing away and being slain in the battle of Unnumbered Tears, she's found by the elves and brought to Androth, where she gives birth to Tuor, who never met his father. But she leaves. She goes to the Howden Nagin, the Hill of the Slain, where she just passes away. And Tuor is raised by the elves. He learns all sorts of different crafts. He learns how to play the harp. He's quite skilled at it. He chooses the axe as his weapon, where he even has his own named weapon, Dramborleg. And he knows how to use bow and spear. But when they're trying to escape, they get separated. And Tuor is captured by the Easterlings, who now rule the land of his father, Dorlomin. And it's Lorgan, and he becomes like a thrall of his house. And he's well fed. He's well fed, he's taken care of because he wants him to be a workhorse. He wants to work him to the bone, but he keeps them well fed, referring to Lorgan, the lord of Dorlomin at this time of the Easterlings, to kind of guarantee that they'll always keep strong and be able to do what he wants. But Torta eventually escapes, and he's quite clever about it. Where when he chooses to, they have dogs chasing him, but he's befriended all the dogs, so they're like chill with him, and they don't even bother barking at him. And he just leaves. He goes back to where he was raised in Androth and becomes an outlaw. Where he is sitting there fighting and defeating the Easterlings, who fear him. They fear him because he's like his father, tall in stature with blonde hair, and like strong in arms, like any of the House of Hador. But eventually, it comes into his mind where, like, he's been trying to find the Anon Ingelith, which translates to the Gate of the Noldor. It was one of the first structures made by the Noldor when they landed in Beleriand after the flight of the Noldor from the Undying Lands. And eventually, it comes upon him where he's sitting next to a stream. He finally is like, "I gotta get out of here. I gotta go because I gotta find my doom," he says. And overall, what ends up happening is he plays his harp. And Ulmo, being the Lord of Waters, finally finds this individual that he prophesies. Like, finally, I have found this person of the House of Hador, Tuor, who I've been planning for, like all this stuff. And this well next to Tuor starts bubbling up and flowing downwards. And Tuor sees it as a sign, which it is. And he goes and he follows it. And thus we see the tale of Tuor of the House of Hador start, where he goes and his coming to Gondolin happens. We could talk about that in another video, but this guy is him. Tuor is like one of the greatest heroes to ever exist in the Legendarium.